imagine this, 2013, this opportunity comes up to open the Wrestling Guy store in Huntington Park, California. I was a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I opened this business in 2005 at the Santa Fe Springs swap meet, and when I opened the store there in 2005, well, when I got a little post, I only went there because I used to sell cell phones, and back in maybe like 2003, 2004, and 2005, it was tough to get a cell phone. Not as easy as it is now. You had to have good credit, and if you didn't have good credit, then you'd have to get prepaid. Unfortunately, at the time, the business did not do well, and we were looking at ways of not closing, so we decided to add some wrestling shirts because I'm a big wrestling fan, and I said, well, what better way for me to get some shirts at wholesale and discount than to order some and try to sell them in our cell phone store. Unfortunately, it didn't help, and we ended up closing the store, but we still had a lot of t-shirts left over, so that's why we decided to give the Santa Fe Springs swap meet a try. And we did. We went over there in February of 2005, and I remember when we first got there, we met a couple people that used to sell wrestling as well. And when we sold our licensed t-shirts that we had left over, it was Randy Orton, John Cena, a couple Stone Cold, they told us that we were selling them too cheap and we wouldn't last. I refused to raise the price. I said, you know what, I just want to get rid of these shirts and then, see what happens. Fortunately, I sold out within maybe 2 hours. And I said, yep, I think I'm going to stay here. So I ended up ordering more shirts. And I was there for a couple years, and then I remember taking a walk around the swap meet. I was there for a couple months. I would just sell t-shirts, and I decided one day to take a walk around the whole swap meet, and I saw that action figures were there. And when I stopped by a stand, I saw that there was a Rey Mysterio Jack Pacific basic figure, and it was what would cost, I think, $8 back then was now $25 at a stand. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I go, what kid can afford to buy a basic Rey Mysterio at $25? So I decided to look into on how to purchase figures so we could sell some figures at the swap meet and keep them at close to retail as possible. So I did. I reached out to Jack Pacific, and that worked out. And we ended up carrying figures, and I remember other vendors at the swap meet hated me for doing that. But then it's so funny because they ended up buying the figures from me and selling them for like double or triple. So we lasted at that swap meet from 2005 up until 2013. But while we were there, we wanted to find a way to bring in more people to our stand and to know about our stand. And so when we thought about ways, we said, let's try some meet and greets. And the first person we reached out to was Chris Masters. And then Chris Masters put us in contact with Chavo Guerrero Jr. And Chavo Guerrero Jr. did our swap meet stand twice and was always really cool, always chill, probably one of the best people to work with. And so fast forward now, we have this opportunity in 2013 to open a store here in Huntington Park, California. We were nervous, like I mentioned earlier, where I prayed and I asked God for guidance and asked him for signs on if we should open this store or not. And sure enough, all the signs were there, and we opened the store in 2013, February 9th, 2013 to be exact. Now, why did we choose Huntington Park? Well, I wanted to be in a Latino community. I really wanted to, I really am a big believer that Latinos love wrestling, and the community treated us so well in Santa Fe Springs swap meet that I knew that we would feel nothing but love here in Huntington Park, and sure enough, we have. The other reason I chose Huntington Park was because I live 7 minutes away, so I wanted to stay within 7 minutes of the store, and I wanted to be close. All my kids go to school nearby, so I wanted to be somewhere where if there's an emergency, I could just close real quick, go pick them up, come back, or whatever. I didn't need to take more than 10-15 minutes to get there. So we chose this location after all the signs were there. It was a great spot in Huntington Park. We stayed in the Latino community. And like I said, it was close to home. But after a few months, you try to find a way to improve business and to try to find a way to bring more people in. And I thought to myself, well, how do I do it? What do I do? And I said, let me try the meet and greets. So I reached out to Chavo Guerrero Jr. and I asked him, I said, hey, we opened a store here in Huntington Park, California. It's in a Latino community. I think you would do really well. I think you would help us put this store on the map. Would you like to come out? And of course, Chavo being Chavo said yes. I don't think he's ever said no to me when I've asked him for a favor. And so he said yes, and he came in, he did the signing, and he brought us the fan base that we needed. He put the store on the map, helped our business grow, and we developed a good friendship after that. He's come into the store multiple times. We've had him with his dad once. That one's for another story, but just know that we got to work with his dad and him. And this was during when Chavo was working with Lucha Underground. And I know most of you guys always, when you see me put a post of Chavo, I always say, without Chavo, the Wrestling Guy store wouldn't be here. And it is true, because I honestly believe if he had turned us down for the first ever meet and greet here at the Wrestling Guy store, I don't think we'd be here right now, because he brought us the fan base that we needed. And he helped us in other ways. When Lucha Underground was just starting to come up, he had flyers sent here to the store so that we can help promote the show. When Lucha Underground was I think, barely getting into like half of the first season, and we had Chavo and his dad here for the appearance, he asked me, he goes, hey, would you like me to put you in contact with our merchandise people so that you can sell Lucha Underground merch here at the Wrestling Guy store? And I said, yes, I would love to. And because of Chavo, we were able to be the only place outside of the temple that was able to sell the Lucha Underground merch. We would sell t-shirts, we were selling the hoodies, we were selling the Prince Puma masks, we were selling the Mil Muertes mask. So Chavo put us in the right path to be able to sell the Lucha Underground merch. Also, another thing that Chavo's done for us is a couple years ago, we were going to have Aiden English and his wife, Chavo Guerrero, who is Eddie's daughter, come in and do an appearance. And unfortunately, Chavo didn't feel well. And we were in a situation, and this is Super Bowl Sunday. So this was on a Friday. We find out that, I believe it was a Thursday or Friday, that Chavo messaged us and told us she wasn't going to be able to join her husband to do the appearance here at the store. And so we're kind of like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of people excited to meet her, to meet a Guerrero, especially Eddie's daughter. So we're like, what do we do? And my good friend Brian Metz actually reached out to Chavo and told him the situation. And I get a text from Chavo saying like, hey brother, what do you need? How can I help you? And I told him the situation, and I kid you not, Super Bowl Sunday, a day that, he's a big football guy. I think he's a big Cowboys fan, if I'm not mistaken. He decides and he tells me, yeah, I'll be there. Let's just do it early. And, so that maybe I can get home on time for the game. And he did. And that just shows you the kind of person that Chavo is. So when I say that the Wrestling Guy store wouldn't be here without him, I mean it. And this is why I chose the Chavo Guerrero signing as our first episode, because I wanted to show people what kind of heart he has and how grateful I am for all the opportunities he's given us, because he was our very first signing here. And like I said, if he had turned us down, I don't know. I don't know who would have been able to bring the same crowd. I mean, he hooked us up with other talent, because of him connecting us with people that would sell, that were in charge of the Lucha Underground merch. We were able to carry the merch, and then I was also able to become part of the Lucha Underground family in a small capacity by being able to go to all the tapings and actually selling the merchandise there. And I was actually able to help design some of the shirts. Like, I was able to help design Johnny Mundo's shirt and PJ Black's shirt. We helped print some of the bandanas that, if you go back and watch Lucha Underground, that Johnny wore on the show. And we were also able to design some of the bandanas that Johnny, Taya, PJ, and Jack Evans wore during the wedding. So all this doesn't happen without Chavo accepting the invitation to come into the store. Yeah, I know we worked together at the swap meet, but again, he didn't have to accept our invitation to come into the store and help us establish ourselves as a business. And and thanks to him, we're still here. What is it now? 13 years later, and he still reaches out and he still asks us what if we need anything. He helped us do WrestleCon during WrestleMania weekend, and I'm very grateful for that. And he's always offered to do anything possible to help the store succeed, and he's offered to help in any way possible and if the family needs anything. And so that's how we ended up opening the store. That's how Chavo Guerrero ended up being our very first meet and greet. And that's how Chavo Guerrero ended up helping the Wrestling Guy store be here and still going strong 13 years later.